What we're going to do now is look at some major characteristics of worldly music. 3 major characteristics that will, I believe, help us know how to listen for sensual kind of music, how to discern it. And the first characteristic is that the sensual music, worldly music, emphasizes a dance style of rhythm. You can dance to it. Now, Frank Darlock, who has a doctorate in music, an expert in music, says if the body and spiritual, physical things are a priority in one's life, that person is sensual. If the rhythm is the primary dominating part of any piece of music, that music is sensual. It's the rhythm that determines how sensual a piece of music is. Simon Frith wrote a book, Sound Effects, and he said the sexuality of music is usually referred to in terms of its rhythm. Rhythm. Now, what is a rock and roll beat? Rock and roll has been with us a long time. Rock music, as we know it today, started in the 50s. And we can simplify the rock and roll beat to 2 different things. And that is the backbeat and a break beat. There's a lot to rock beats, but I believe we can simplify it this way. And the backbeat or anapestic beat, it's called anapestic, which is a poetic term that describes poetry that uses 3 syllables with an emphasis on the 3rd syllable. Da, 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 da. In music, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, anapestic, offbeat. Play that same piece again, brother. This is Honky Tonk Woman. Very typical rock beat. 2, 2, 2, 2. It's just off. The emphasis is off the beat. That's rock and roll. That's the backbeat. That's just, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the backbeat. The break beat will come before or after the main beat, like 1 E and 2 E and 1 E and here's an illustration of it by Santana. The beat is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's off the main beat everywhere. It's just the break beat. That's rock and roll. It comes in all kinds of forms. It can be hard or soft, slow or fast. And we have to learn how to listen for the rock beat, no matter whether it's soft or hard or fast or slow. Now here's an example of soft rock. Soft rock. This is a rock beat. 1, 2, 4. That's a rock beat. That's the offbeat, the backbeat. A lot of rock and roll is soft, gentle like that. But it's the same backbeat that gives it its energy and sensuality. Now you can hear the beat better on this clip with the soft rock segging into a little harder. That's a soft rock beat. Now it's segged into a little harder because you've got the bass and you've got the drums emphasizing the beat so you can hear it better. You see that? But it's all rock and roll. It was rock and roll at the beginning. It's rock and roll at the end. And this rock beat, this backbeat, this break beat is different from the straight beat or the march beat, which emphasizes either the first beat or all of the beats equally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1. That's the march beat. Emphasis on the first beat. El Capitan March by Sousa emphasizes 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or emphasis on the first beat, and then the other 3 beats following along. That's a march. You don't want to dance. You just want to march along. And it, of course, affects the body, all of those different kinds of beats. And this backbeat is the chief characteristic of rock and roll. Now, here's some quotes from the fathers of rock and roll, from rock and roll musicians themselves, telling us what rock and roll is. What its main characteristic is. Bill Haley, back in the earliest days of rock, Bill Haley in the Comets, he said, I felt that I could take a tune and drop the first and third beats, and accentuate the second and the fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, and add a beat the listeners could dance to. And this would be what they were after. Oh, yeah, it was. Sure got a hold of me, I tell you, what they were after. He says rock and roll is a backbeat, a strong backbeat. Chuck Berry wrote a song. He says, I dig that rock and roll music. It has a backbeat. You can't lose it. What's rock and roll, Chuck Berry? It has a backbeat. Huey Lewis in the News. Oh, here's Chuck Berry. But Huey Lewis in the News wrote a song, The Heart of Rock and Roll. When they play their music, oh, that modern music, they like it with a lot of style. But it's still the same old backbeat rhythm that really, really drives them wild. He said backbeat rhythm will drive you wild. He's talking about partying. He's talking about sensuality, letting the flesh have its way. He said, well, what's rock and roll? Well, it's the backbeat. Elvis Presley knew a whole lot about rock and roll. The king of rock and roll, they say. He said it's the beat that gets to you. If you like it and you feel it, you can't help but move to it. He moved to it.